Hey, and welcome to part 4 of the 2018 Exam Marker Video Diary with me, Katie Price. So I mentioned a couple of days ago about this whole idea of vocabulary and having a really good understanding of it. And so this evening I want to talk specifically about that because I've come across more and more exam papers where it's evident that students aren't quite clear on what particular words mean. Now, it's either words that are being sort of required or asked about, or just words that are cropping up in a question, and therefore it's hindering them in terms of being able to respond to it at the highest level. So let me give you a few examples from this particular paper. General words that are just used within either the preliminary information, like the stem of the question, or in part of the question itself, would be things like aspired. A big one that's caught a few students out is omits. So the question actually says, recounting incidents, people use specific techniques to portray themselves more favorably, such as omitting some parts of events. And then it says, or using words and phrases that cause readers to feel a particular way. Now, just omitting, so leaving out. It doesn't say leaving out, it does say omitting. So whether the examiners are actually trying to test students on their understanding of that word rather than just being able to pick out that technique is proving to be a little bit challenging for some people. So they've kind of changed it to omitting, admitting certain events, excuse me, or just rewriting the word not quite right. And that's fine if we can tell as markers that they know what that word is all about and they're using it correctly. They've just written it, or what we'd call it as a transcription error. They've just written it in quite slightly incorrectly in, the heat of the moment of an exam. That's fine. But if they're not sure of what that word means, then they can't write about how the author or the character has omitted certain things from their story, or how they've portrayed the series of events, because they're not sure on what that word means, so they can't address it correctly. There's actually a question in here where it says that Angia, the character, might also be described as, and it gives them 3 options, and actually all of those options can work. So some students have sort of seen this as almost like a multiple choice and thought that there's only one that it can be, whereas actually what the options are all perfectly valid. They can just pick one that they think they can write about the best. And but the 3 options are fairly high level vocab. So it's vindictive, impulsive, and shrewd. And so for some students, they've not necessarily just been able to pick the one that they can write best about. They've had to pick the one which is maybe the only one they really know or understand the meaning of that word. And for some students, again, they've been completely caught out and haven't understood the word that they've chosen, and therefore their analysis doesn't work. So I know this is something that actually happened for a personal coaching student of mine fairly recently in an essay extended response question for history, and they struggled with their response purely because if they'd have been given the question with a different wording, they would have been fine. They knew the content, they knew all the concepts, they knew the examples, but the wording of the question, there was a specific word, and I can't remember off the top of my head now what it was, but it caught them out because they weren't totally sure of that wording, and therefore it meant that they really struggled with that response. So a little something extra for students to be able to work on in general in terms of their study. And I'm as you know, I'm a fan of lots of specific strategies, techniques, nitty-gritty detail. But if ever there's something that someone says to me, oh, look, what can we generally work on with our teen? One of those things could be just building, expanding their general vocabulary and understanding of some of those higher level words. So that's just something I wanted to bring up that's catching out a lot of students on the papers that I'm marking. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I've not actually really mentioned it before in any blog videos or webinars. So this is something to look out for, people. For now, I will wrap things up. I'm sure to make, I would say, at least one more video in this series, but let's see how things go. Please, thank you already to people that have dropped in a few comments from the first video that I've shared. And if you have any comments or questions, be sure to drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already done so, go join our free Facebook exam pop-up group. It's around till the 1st of December. I'm here to support parents and students as we go through this whole exam phase of the year. So if this is something that's useful to you and you'd like more of it, definitely jump in there. There's already heaps of content and lots more to come. So I'm Katie Price, great transformation expert, and until the next video, have a great week and I'll catch up with you soon. See you soon, bye.